Hello everybody and welcome. I'm No02 and thank you for watching this video. The Cycle Frontier, we are so spoiled. I cannot believe how many updates we're getting from Jaeger. They are pumping it out right now. Updates little. I will admit that. Updates little, not a big deal. But the update is coming out like tomorrow for me or something like 10 a.m. Central European Standard Time or whatever. So it's like less than 24 hours away, I believe. For the it's coming out soon. It's coming out soon. Patch 1.3. Nothing too huge here. Bunch of little stuff here. Right, we'll go over refined our anti-cheat algorithm even further. More efficiency, less false positives. I'm so sorry. If you have been falsely banned, Jaeger apologizes. They are super sorry about banning all you innocent people, and hopefully they'll figure out how to bring you back. There's talk here that they are making sure to unban any and all innocent players. So rest assured, if you got wrongly banned, bummer. Sorry that happened to you guys. They talk about anti-cheat. It's a never-ending battle with all online games. That's what all of the online games say. But we're sure we can win this. That's also what all of the online games say. I really hope so. I really hope so that they figure something out and to keep it up. I will say that I have close to 100 hours right now in Cycle Frontier, and I've encountered hackers maybe 5 times, 5 or 6 times, where I was like eliminated, foamed by someone who was clearly and obviously a hacker. And 2 of the times was like that pickaxe hack, which was kind of funny, right? So I will say, and maybe that's a testament to my skill level because I'm not in the skill bracket that hackers end up being in the tippity top here. But I think to some degree, if you're a low level player or a mid range player, you're probably not going to be running into hackers that often. For all you chads out there and all you hardcore gamers, Jaeger's working on it. Jaeger's working on it. Performance and stability should have been increased overall. They're always looking for improvements, right? That's always good to hear. But standard stuff, right? Supply crates can't be claimed when your stash is full. Your stuff would get burned into the nether realm if you accidentally claim stuff when your stash was full. Push back some cables. I don't even personally I don't even know where the Cursor caverns are. Maybe I've been there and just didn't know that's what they were called. But they push the wall back so that you can't get blown up by grenades so easily. Because people can hear you mining and they'll just toss a grenade out there. Here's the juiciest bits of the update. Some balancing to some guns, and I kind of love this. It's a small thing, but a big thing. It's a small thing in the big picture of it all, but sort of a big thing in the nuance area of the gunplay here. Lacerator, KBR Longshot, and the Basilisk. Remove damage fall off from the KBR Longshot, and remove damage fall off from the Lacerator. The Lacerator also gets some recoil reduction here. Recoil reduction for the Lacerator, kind of cool because it felt like the Lacerator is supposed to be like the faster firing, more controllable, faster movement than the KBR Longshot, with the Longshot obviously packing a bigger punch. This is going to help differentiate the Lacerator and the Longshot a little bit more, so that you maybe can make a more informed decision or like a playstyle thing, because it is faster to run around with the Lacerator than it is the Longshot. So again, sort of separating the Lacerator and the Longshot a little bit more. Remove damage fall off. I love this idea. Now, it's a small thing in the big picture of it all, because the big picture is there's lots of situations where a DMR is not the ideal weapon. There are so many instances where you're going to wind up in a fight with somebody and just not and struggle for success because your opponent might be too close. You might be in the open. You might not have good cover to sort of like peek and shoot and like jump behind cover and peek and shoot again, right? There's just a lot of circumstances where the DMRs just aren't finding themselves in the ideal situation, or just like having an AR. Anyone with an AR is going to potentially outclass you just because their weapon's more versatile and things like that. Now, this is sort of a bigger thing in the smaller picture of it all, in that this is going to give this is a unique feature now to the DMR, which is kind of cool. I sort of like the idea of potentially giving each of the guns their own little special bonus that maybe affects gameplay, or maybe affects the choice of whether or not you choose to bring this gun in or not, right? It's pretty small in the big picture of it, that this doesn't mean that people are going to be running around with DMRs all the time, poning noobs, because the DMRs for the most part are still going to suck in the same situations that they suck. But this sort of special thing now maybe makes you second guess and maybe go, hey, you know what? There's going to be sort of an advantage here running a DMR potentially over the bolty. Maybe I can still do decent damage at bolty range, at the bolt rifle range, but do it faster and be able to pop off 2 or 3 shots at someone really far away and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool, right? Sort of cool that maybe these guns have a unique feature now. It sort of reminds me of like the PDW. I haven't really tested it yet or can truly confirm it, but it feels like you can sprint just as fast or almost as fast with the PDW in hand as you can with your knife out, right? Knife is supposed to be the fastest movement in the game. PDW is either equal to or second, because it just feels like you run so fast with it in your hand, and that's sort of a cool concept to me in general. And that perhaps some of the guns can have sort of these little secret, or not secret, little nuanced bonuses. Right, the PDW allows you free movement. The DMRs don't have damage fall off, etc., etc. Sort of an interesting idea here to potentially boost the power of the DMRs. We'll see how it goes, especially for the Lacerator. I personally think the Lacerator is better than the Longshot just because of the fire rate. Because of the extra fire rate, the Lacerator just has a slightly better chance of winning hip fire battles or close range battles, because that extra fire rate is just more DPS and more opportunities to drop somebody in close range. It's going to reduce your TTK, time to kill, or I guess TTF, right, time to foam, than the long shot is. The long shot overall is going to be better at the pop shots, but I think the Lacerator has more potential to excel in different situations than the long shot does. Basculus, who was it, like 1% of the players use that gun? Anyways, these are only the balance, right? So here's a note from the devs. These are the only balance changes for the day, as we wanted to focus on more pressing matters first and foremost. As you will see in the upcoming bug fixes, there's nothing too dramatic in the bug fixes, as we'll see here. We've been diligent in trying to gather as much data and feedback about the weapon balance as possible, though. Among other changes, we want to make SMGs better, low-tier shotguns a bit less too good, and higher tier equipment slightly more appealing. In other words, expect a lot more balancing in the next update. Ooh, the tease. The tease. This right here says to me that the devs do, for the most part, understand what's happening to some degree. The fact that they are buffing the DMRs, because the DMRs were like the worst guns in the game for the most part. And then they are aware that SMGs are not in a good spot. And they are aware that shotguns are in too good of a spot. So it's nice to see that I think the devs, so far, have some understanding of what's going on in their game, and they're paying attention. And that's really awesome. Here are the bug fixes. Nothing too crazy here. I'm just going to sort of skim through them. There will be a link in the description for this if you want to read it yourself, right? But some bug fixes, like fixed issues that would prevent you from gaining XP for the battle pass, right? Communications issue with the servers. People are always complaining that they can't sell stuff, craft stuff, can't claim stuff in their hideout. That's all server stuff. That's 50,000 people all trying to push the same button at the same time, and the servers are going, please get in line and take a ticket. So kind of cool. All right, so bug fixes, great. Server desync with creatures. I've been experiencing this a lot, actually, where like creatures would be invincible, but they can still hit me, and I would like unload my gun on them, and then they'll keep hitting me, and I have to like run away, and then they would die like a minute later. Weird stuff like that. So they fixed some server desync when fighting creatures, the AI, which is nice. No more dropping from an invisible pod. You're not a superhero. Creatures will now properly admit their death rattles when killed by a melee attack, so you can start feeling bad about yourself. Can I just say that the little jokes that they weave in here, I think should be appreciated here. It reminds us that these devs are human beings making a living and trying to make a cool game because that's fun and exciting and it's awesome. It's awesome. Video games are awesome. But devs are people too. Smooth out the world so your bullets don't get struck on magic pixels. I haven't really experienced that, but there's still some really janky geometry in the game, and I wish and I hope that they revisit the climbing, because there's still some areas that you looks like you should be able to climb it, but you can't. Fix the Savage Marauder taking as much damage as a standard Marauder instead of being more resilient. Yeah, I know, 'twas a nice bug, but that's life. I didn't notice that their damage intake was the same, but now Savage Marauders are getting a buff. They're going to be even more strong now. Rattlers were a bit too hyper-focused. They'll now hesitate less to switch targets. Essentially, the Rattlers are going to be more willing to switch targets in the middle of a fight. Kind of cool. Let's see here. Elite Crushers will now make sure that they have applicable path before initiating a charge, and thus shall bonk their heads to bonk their heads no more or less often. Probably less often. The way they word some of these sentences throws me off here. Let's see here. But a stern talk with the factions and supply crates shouldn't contain items of lower quality than what they're supposed to grant anymore. As you upgraded the supply crates, I think the lower gear stuff is supposed to be weeded out, but you can still get it. It should happen less often now, which is nice. Fixed a quick exploit that allowed skipping the shatter gun's reload animation. They did the same thing for the trench gun, I think, and now I think they realized the shatter gun had the same capabilities. This is interesting. No more using emotes to loot containers through walls. Clever, but that's still cheating. I guess you could use emotes and clip through walls and interact with stuff. No idea. I had no idea you can do that. People are so clever. Probably speedrunners doing that. Weapon attachments can be insured with gear salvage. That's the get the item back insurance before you go dropping. Which is kind of cool, because when it comes to finding like blue attachments specifically, because you can't craft them, blue attachments are the most economic attachments that we can have, the most like bang for your buck as far as having them on a gun, because you can't craft them, so there's no cost, but you do have to find them in raid. So being able to ensure your attachments, your blue ones, your purple ones that do have a cost because you have to craft them, kind of cool that you can potentially get all of that back instead of just a naked gun. The skip button for timers and stuff will no longer be grayed out for no reason, etc. Miscellaneous stuff here. All head variations could now be previewed in the shop when looking for a new prospector. Interesting. Known issues. Vanity items cannot be claimed if the stash is full. Biker Queen's image shows black hair, though sure she has white hair. Standard stuff, right? So some interesting bug fixes, right? Savage Marauders get buffed. Scattergun gets technically a nerf, right? DMRs get buffed. Kind of cool stuff. Little patch here. I just love that Jaeger gives so many, is just pumping out the patches here. I really appreciate it. A little patch overall. As far as I can tell, it's only going to be beneficial for the game for the most part. Hopefully it doesn't break anything. Anywho, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll see you in the future.